Good day, beautiful people, and welcome back to Life Treasures and Golden Moments. This is Natalie Silver. Today, I'd like to share some stories with you written by the author Dan Valentine. And the first story is called Let a Boy Dream. Not long ago, I saw a little boy's dream die. It happened on a bus. Two mothers laughed at his young dream. The laughter was kindly, of course, and not meant to be harmful, but in a flash of a second it erased the bright sparkle from the little boy's eyes and stole the dream from his 6-year-old heart. It all began when one of the mothers turned to the small boy and asked, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" The boy brightened and his eyes flashed. "I'm going to ride a rocket to the moon, and then fly to Mars, and then I'm going to ride all over space and see everything there is, and come back home and tell all about it." Then he went zoom with his hands, like all little boys do when they talk about moon and the rockets. "Oh, come on now," his mother cautioned. "The lady asked you a serious question. Tell her you're going to be a doctor like Uncle Alfred." "But," the boy blurted, "I don't want to be a doctor. I want to rocket into space and see Mars and the moon and everything out there." His mother smiled and shook her head. "I don't know what gets into little boys these days. They are never serious. They say such silly things." The other woman nodded. "I know what you mean. I have a 9-year-old son who says he's going to drive an ambulance when he grows up." Both women laughed. Just like that, a little boy's dream had been killed. He couldn't understand the laughter. He hadn't been joking, not one bit. He sincerely dreamed of being able to rocket to the moon when he grew up. The jesting laugh of his mother had done its damage. He had been shown it was childish to want to be a spaceman. But why? Is it so shameful for a little boy to want to be a train engineer, or a fireman, or a policeman, or a man on a flying trapeze? Dreams of little boys should never be killed and smothered and laughed at. Dreams should be coddled and caressed and fondled and allowed to grow. Many modern parents boast an occupational snobbery that kills the healthy, normal young dreams of their children. They stifle young dreams of boys who want to be firemen and truck drivers and men who make machines. At a parent-teachers meeting, a doctor complained out loud that his young son had decided to be a policeman when he grows up. "It's embarrassing," the doctor admitted. "Imagine my son a cop." "And what's so bad about that? Is it so foolish for a boy to want to be a policeman? The world is in need of good law enforcement men who can truthfully say that a good police officer is not every bit as valuable as a good doctor." One mother of a 10-year-old son was astounded recently when the boy happily announced he had selected his life's work. "I'm going to be a dog doctor," he said. "Imagine that," his mother giggled over the backyard fence. "A dog doctor. She treated it as a big joke. It wasn't. The boy loves dogs, is interested in dogs, loves to care for them. He might grow up to be a fine veterinarian. But don't bet on it, because his mother has already decided he's going to be a lawyer." Young dreams are fragile dreams. They are wrapped in the gossamer cloth of youth. They change with the hour, with the day, and with the season. But they should never be held up to the glaring light of adult ridicule. Dreams are serious things, especially to little boys, and also little girls. Adults are always asking little boys what they plan to be when they grow up. When an adult asks a little boy about his dream, respect should be given to that dream, no matter how fanciful or youthful it happens to be. Dreams are made from fragile stuff. They are easily and permanently destroyed in the flash of a mocking word. It is an inalienable right of little boys to dream about growing up to be a policeman, a fireman, a circus acrobat, white hunters in Africa, jet pilots over the Pacific, and hard-hitting center fielders for the New York Yankees. The dreams of little boys grow into the dreams of grown men, and the dreams of grown men are the dreams that free the world. All but a few of the little boys in the world today who dream of being policemen and firemen and cowboys will grow up to become farmers and mechanics, office workers, salesmen and clerks. They'll be doctors, dentists, teachers, and lawyers. But on moonlight nights and on the lazy days, they recall their young dreams. They'll half smile and perhaps for a moment or two hold again the young dream that once they owned. Many a grown man finds refuge in the dreams of his youth. They help make him young again. Many a young lad of today dreams with shining eyes of space in the sky and unexplored satellites. Many a young lad dreams of rocketing to the moon. It's a childish fancy, of course, a young boy's dream, and nothing else. Or is it? I'm going to fly to the moon when I grow up, the young boy tells his mother. With a patient smile, she says, "Yes, dear. I'm going there in a rocket with a zillion jet engines in it," the boy continues, his eyes dancing, "and we'll speed faster than the speed of lightning and zoom a couple of trillion miles in a few hours, and we'll land on the moon, and I'll talk to all the moon people there, and when I get back, I'll be famous and tell everybody in the world how I was the first to get to the moon." His mother sighs. "Yes, dear," she says, and goes on making plans for him to become an accountant or a sales manager or a fine corporation lawyer. But someday, and soon, a man will fly a rocket to the moon, and the man who finally does it will do it for only one reason, because he dreamed about it when he was a little boy. It's the same with all things. Great novels start as young dreams. Mountains are climbed by men who dream about them when they are young boys. Inventions grow from sparks in the eyes of little boys. That's why adults should never laugh at the dreams of little boys, because if a little boy doesn't have the dream to dream, of what possible use are the other freedoms of the world? Now, this story was written many years ago, and someone actually did go to the moon. So you see, dreams do come true. This next story I'd like to share with you is called Jimmy Starts to School, and this was also written by Dan Valentine. I had some very dear friends this week. Their grandson started kindergarten, and they were all worried about him. But this is really a sweet story about a little kid starting school, and I think you'll really enjoy it. I feel sorry for bachelors. They never know the fatherly thrill of taking a young son to school for the first time. Like the day my Jimmy started kindergarten, it was quite a silent thrill for me. Up the front walk to the school, he held my hand. His clasp was tighter than usual, and he held my hand as we went through the halls. But when we came to the kindergarten room, and he could see the other kindergarten youngsters there, he slowly drew his hand from mine, as if to say, "Okie dokie, Dad, it's time for me to walk alone." He smiled a shy and slightly lonely smile and walked on through. 2 short steps through a doorway, and all at once my son was on his own, for the first time in his young life. Wide-eyed, he scanned the faces of his new classmates. They in turn also wide-eyed scanned him. Here in this group were his future friends, and perhaps an enemy or two, and pretty little girls to tease at recess time, and boys to jostle and tumble with, and, if he was lucky here, in this group of young strangers, was one extra special pal with which to share snickering secrets and private jokes. 2 short steps through a schoolroom doorway, and my young son said goodbye to one world and entered another. Here in his new school world, he will meet authority. He will tangle with challenge. He will find the zest for competition, the fine spirit of companionship. Here he will scar his knees in playground games and discover the magic of books. He will learn to give a little to get along and accept the wishes of the majority. 2 short steps through the door of a schoolroom, and the world changes. Here he will learn to take punishment and not whimper too much. He will learn to become a citizen in his own small community, and he will learn to accept the privileges of the citizenship and also to accept its responsibilities. 2 short steps through the doorway to a kindergarten schoolroom by a small 5-year-old boy, while his father stands in the hallway and watches a tousled head join the crowd. Here he will begin to build his dreams and to take the first steps of the great journey. He will gain the knowledge that will give him confidence, and his confidence will give him courage, and this courage will help him build and blend and mold a fine and useful life. All this begins with 2 short steps through the doorway of a kindergarten schoolroom, while a father stands in the hallway and watches with 2 proud eyes. It's quite a majestic sensation a father feels as he watches his son enter his first schoolroom. I'm sure there's no other thrill quite like it. And as I said at the start, there are times when I feel sorry for bachelors. That's a really special story. Yes, I remember many years ago when my little girl started kindergarten. And like I said, 2 short steps through a kindergarten door, and they start a new life. So those are our young children starting out in the world. What a beautiful story. Thanks, Dan, for that one. The next thing I'd like to share with you is a story about an animal that I think you'll enjoy. And it's Miracles of Animals. You know how I love animals because I'm always telling you animal stories. And I found this one today, and it's called Thank You, Buster by Anita Waldley. In the winter of 2007 in Oklahoma was one of record-breaking ice and snow. I can't remember a time since the late 60s when the snow was so deep that school was canceled for an entire week. But this year it happened, and I was stuck inside with 2 beagles, Buster and Lizzie. It was like having 2 preschoolers at home again. I can relate. I was frustrated with them constantly wanting in and out, having to dry off wet feet, trying to entertain them when they couldn't go outside to play. In the midst of the chaos with the dogs, I was also trying to have a conversation online with my oldest son who lives in California. I read with excitement as he shared about the fundraising he was doing for an upcoming mission trip he was going on to India. He had come back to the Lord after 12 years of living away from him. I had prayed that God would do whatever it would take to bring him back, and he had answered my prayers. Following the breakup of a relationship with his girlfriend, he had become involved in a great church in Los Angeles with an active singles ministry. The year before, God had orchestrated his going on a mission trip with them to Germany. Now he was planning his second trip. As he told me about the money he had raised so far for his trip, my mother's heart longed to encourage his efforts. However, a recent divorce after 33 years of marriage to his father had left me financially unable to send him anything at that time. Another of my sons was to be married in June, and everything extra I had was going toward the wedding expenses. I instant messaged him that I wished I could send him something but didn't have an extra to spare. "That's okay, Mom. I understand," was the response. I began to weep and cry out to God. "Why, God? Why have you given me this desire to give, but not provided anything for me to give?" My dogs were at my feet during this time, wrestling and fighting over a bone, adding to my suffering at this moment. I had given each of them identical braided chew bones earlier in the day. Well, Buster, as usual, had taken his outside on one of his trips out and had buried it in the snow somewhere. He was now barking at the top of his lungs at Lizzie, who was quietly chewing on her bone. Frustrated, I put on my boots and said, "Okay, Buster, let's go outside and find your bone so you will quit barking." We trampled along the fence line in the ankle-deep snow looking for his bone. and suddenly I stopped, spotting half of a $100 bill lying in the snow. Another glance, and I saw the other half in two pieces, lying a foot away. Obviously, the dogs had found the money before I had did. I picked the pieces up along with Buster's bone and rushed back into the house. Eagerly, I fitted the three pieces together, perfectly matching up the $100 bill. Taping the pieces securely together, I knew exactly what I was going to do with that money. I went back to the computer and shakily typed to my son, "God just sent me $100 to send to you for your trip." I couldn't believe that God had been so tender to me. It mattered to him that I wanted to be able to help support my son's trip. It didn't have to be $100. It could have been $1 or $20. Why such a large amount? James 1:17 says that every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights. The wind of God's love blew the money into my backyard that day. I believe, and I do believe that. Matthew 7:11 says, "If you, then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him?" Often the frustrations in our lives are God's way of getting our attention so that he can bless each of us and teach us. If it hadn't been for the dogs, I wouldn't have gone outside or found the gift that God had for me out there. If it hadn't been for the frustration of the dogs, I might not have had cried out to God in such desperation. I would have missed the opportunity for him to show me so tenderly that he cares for me when we are all going through difficult times. God doesn't always drop $100 bills in the backyards or your backyard or mine, but sometimes he does. Thank you, Buster, and thank you, God. And thank you, Anita Whaley, for that very sweet story about Buster. That was really sweet. Before I close today, I'd like to share another writing by Dan about the golden moments. As I always say, life's treasures are golden moments, and this is very beautiful, which was written here. In every life, there are golden moments. There are brief moments you hold in your heart forever. Looking at a sunset with one you love, holding a new child in your arms, seeing the sun rise over a mountain at dawn, the golden moments, the clear blue sky of a mountain lake, the roar of the crowd when you're a winner, a snug fire when the world is so cold. These are the golden moments. This life has much of woe and troubles and tragedy and sorrow. There are many anxious times, such as what we're all going through now. There is strife and disappointment, and broken dreams and quick despair. But then comes a golden moment, and all the aches and bruises seem worthwhile, and the world is exactly right for a brief space of time. A golden moment when a man and a woman stand before the altar of God and promise to love and cherish each other forever. A golden moment when two small arms twine around your neck and a child's voice says, "I love you." A golden moment hearing Beethoven's symphony while holding the hand of the one you love. A golden moment seeing a radiant daughter in her first party gown. A golden moment watching your son return from the wars unharmed. Golden moments bring golden sounds. Ocean waves breaking against craggy rocks. The fall of gentle rain on the roof of a wilderness cabin. The sound of a door opening when a friend walks in a room. Golden moments, golden sounds, they blend together to create a magical potion called heart glow. And don't let those cynics tell you differently. There is such a thing as heart glow. It is a little bit like stardust and very much akin to a moon mist. You can't see it, but it is everywhere. Heart glow is what you feel when you see a mountain sunset, a look at a moon in an October sky. Heart glow is the warmth that swells inside you when you see a happy child at play. You can't buy it. It is heaven sent. Heart glow is everywhere. You see it in the eyes of a bride, in the smile of a new father, in the faces of proud parents at a graduation ceremony. Great music creates heart glow. It reflects from beautiful works of art, and it seeps from between the lines of fine poems. Heart glow lives inside churches and clings to the walls of happy homes. Heart glow is a curious potion. It is made up of magic ingredients. 1 part serenity, 2 parts happiness, 3 parts charity. You mix it in a brew of kindness and boil it over the warm coals of love. The vapor then escapes, and it's heart glow. Heart glow is the finest gift to mankind. It is the happy result of life's golden moments. Once you've felt it, you're never quite the same again. So you all go in your kitchens and mix up some heart glow, okay? Thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of Life Treasures and Golden Moments, and I look forward to being with you next month for another episode. Until next time, take care and may God bless. This is Natalie Silva.